On today's podcast, we're continuing a series about the role trust plays in leadership, developing teams, and creating compelling cultures in the world today. And today, we'll be talking about where our trust wobbles within our teams. Where does our trust wobble within our teams? Welcome back to the Thermostat with Jason Barger. If you're currently on a commute, a walk, or just a micro break in your day, glad you're making time to step back, to think, and to reflect on the next steps on your journey. I've never been more convinced the best leaders and team cultures in the world are the ones that make time to step back, breathe in good oxygen, and calibrate their thermostat. I hope today's conversation leaves you feeling grounded and inspired. Now let's dive into today's topic to engage our minds and hearts in order to authentically lead and create compelling cultures wherever we are in the world. Hey everybody, it's Jason, and welcome back to the Thermostat Podcast, wherever you are and however you're coming to the podcast today. Welcome in. So glad you are here, and glad that we're doing this again. So thanks for coming back. Thanks for listening. Those of you that have been with this from the very beginning, thank you. And so glad that we have listeners and people that care about these subjects. So thanks for coming back. And for anybody that's new, welcome. So glad you're here. We have over 220-ish, something like that, episodes now. I'm losing track. So many great things, so many great topics, micropods, and also some great interviews with wonderful people that have joined me over the years. So I hope you'll dive back in, go check out old episodes, and also be excited about what we're doing. My commitment to you is always, I hope this is a time and space in your day, in your week, in your month, whatever it is, whenever you're listening to this, to step back, to have a little bit of oxygen breathed into you, and to think about some topics that will help you think about this thermostat that you're trying to be in your life, in your family, and certainly with your team, your work, your organization that you serve. So thanks for being here, and that will be my commitment, and I hope that you continue to show up, and this is valuable to you. So before we start with today's topic, if you will do me the quick favor and rate the podcast 5 stars, on whatever platform you're on, just hit 5 stars. Trust me, thank me. You're welcome. I'm grateful for anybody that takes the time to do that, and I appreciate anybody that does that. Also, anybody that leaves a wonderful, your own authentic review, your own words, tell people, why this podcast resonated with you. Anybody who takes the time to do that, that helps it, other people find it. So thank you. And obviously, anybody who shares the podcast topics or episodes that resonate with you, share them with your team on social media, wherever it is that is authentic for you. But hey, let's listen to this and talk about it. Those are ways in which it amplifies. So thanks to everybody that takes the time to do that. Trust continues to be a topic within teams and organizations that continues to come to the surface. And so that's why this series that I'm doing on trust, that's where it came from. I just continue to see it within the teams and organizations that I serve, and just the need, the opportunity in the world that we know that dysfunctional teams and cultures and dysfunctional leaders, there's low levels of trust between people. And we know that in compelling cultures and compelling teams and leaders, there are higher levels of trust. And so there's a massive opportunity to be a differentiator and be a leader, a team, an organization that actually develops and builds trust with people and creates compelling cultures that people want to be a part of. So that's always been true, and yet now there's some recent research that just came out from Gallup, early 2024 data that they have that says only 23% of employees strongly agree that they trust the leadership of their team or an organization and the direction that it's heading. Only 23% trust their leadership and trust the vision, like where they're heading as an organization. So there's a massive opportunity, again, to be different than that, to be a differentiator in the market, but also to be a place that is compelling to humans and brings out the best in people, and trust me, results will follow. So massive opportunity to be a differentiator by creating an authentic culture where trust is foundational and it's developed, And I see it firsthand that many of the leaders, teams, and organizations that I support, they recognize the importance of raising that level of trust within their teams and earning that trust with their teammates. And it's not simple. It's not easy. But over time, as we honor that, we'll get better at what we do and create an environment that people want to be a part of. So we know that if you're a leader, you don't want people to feel, you don't want to be a part of that statistic where only 23% trust you. And so you want people to trust you, trust where you're heading as a team. And also we know it's not as simple as just saying, well, trust me. We're going to have to develop and work on it. Great cultures build trust within their teams and recognize when opportunities arise to develop that trust. So on today's podcast, we're continuing a series about the role trust plays in leadership, developing teams, and creating compelling cultures in the world today. And today we'll be talking about where our trust wobbles within our teams. Where does our trust wobble within our teams? But before we dive into today's topic, let's pause, take a quick break, and we'll be right back. Many teams and organizations right now are realizing that they need to do both. They need to engage the minds and hearts of their people in person, where everyone in the room can experience the energy of congregating together and find clarity for the road ahead. And they also need to continue to find ways to engage the minds and hearts of their people virtually with those who are working remotely or at a distance. So, if you are in the process of planning your next team meeting, company all-hands event, conference, or culture summit, and are looking for support with a powerful keynote speech, facilitated team conversations that are the currency for change, or deeper development on leadership mindset and an intentional strategy for the culture you're trying to create, I hope you'll contact us at jasonvbarger.com, jasonvbarger.com. It is my privilege and our honor to partner with great people to provide support in these areas. We want to breathe oxygen into your leaders and throughout your organization so you can set the temperature you want for your culture. We look forward to connecting with you soon. I hope you'll contact us at jasonvbarger.com, jasonvbarger.com. It is my privilege and our honor to partner with great people to provide support in these areas. We want to breathe oxygen into your leaders and throughout your organization so you can set the temperature you want for your culture. We look forward to connecting with you soon. You may remember I've been highlighting this episode on the last couple episodes, but the episode I did a while back called Why is Trusting the Process So Hard? If you didn't hear that episode, I encourage you to go back and find it. Why is Trusting the Process So Hard? Just because it will relate to some of the things that we're talking about with this recent series. So go back and listen if you can. If you do remember that episode, then you'll remember a few key elements that we need to pull forward with us into today's conversation. One, we need to remember that trust is not automatic. We as humans don't just hand it out on the regular. Trust doesn't just magically happen. In fact, trust is bartered every single day with the people around us. The second element we need to remember for today's conversation is, our hesitancy or someone else's hesitancy to trust the process is that sometimes they don't understand the process. And so we need to remember that if it isn't clear to people what is the path ahead, what is the ideology, the approach, the philosophy, the game plan, then it's hard for people to just blindly trust the process. And the third element to carry with us into today is this idea that we know that, and just honor the fact that trusting the process, that the process is going to take time. It's not a drive-through experience. It's not an overnight experience. Developing trust and leading people through change and a process of wherever you're going as a team will require time to build that trust, discipline, perseverance, all of those things. So I always reference the 6A process for leading change to remind people of my framework that has to do with change theory. How do we change? And those 6 A's of assess, we got to assess, align, aspire, articulate, act, and anchor. And again, I've done many podcasts about that, 6A process for leading change. If you want to go back and listen to one of those, that will dive deeper into that. But the process itself takes time. We can't just skip to the end of it. So I'll just do a quick recap too on the last couple episodes, or at least, and hopefully you've been listening to them along the way. If not, go back and listen to each of the episodes in this series. But I'll give a quick synopsis just again to bring your brain back to it. That first we reminded ourselves that trusting begins with the decision to trust. And what is that decision? And what are the situational factors that sometimes go into our decision on whether or not we're going to trust at all? And it has to do with security. Are we safe? Do we see similarities in people? Do we have an alignment of interests? Do we think the other person is capable? And do we sense a level of communication that we feel good about? Those are some of the situational factors that go into our initial decision. Am I going to enter into a relationship to trust this person or trust this team? And last episode, we focused on where then, after we make the choice to trust, where does our trust wobble individually? Where does our trust tend to wobble with our trust in other people? And where does our other people's trust with us personally tend to wobble? And so we looked at the three main drivers of trust that came from a Harvard Business Review article and research from Francis Fry and Ann Morris that talks about, in their study of trust, they found that there are three main drivers of trust. Logic, do people understand the reasoning and the why, the rationale, the decision making? Why are we doing what we're doing? And if we don't understand the logic behind the decision, our trust can wobble with the people around us. The other driver is empathy. And if empathy is missing, where somebody doesn't feel like the other person cares about them or cares about their point of view, or feels like a one-way relationship, then that empathy is lost, and that can cause our trust to wobble. And then the third driver of trust is authenticity. Does the other person feel like you are being real, genuine, transparent? And again, I'd encourage you to go back and dive into that episode where I'll extend that further. But today we'll extend the last episode's dialogue into how does it play out within our trust within teams, because those things are at play, of course, not only individually, but within our teams. As a team, do we see that decisions we're making are logical? Can we connect the dots of the decisions we make and the rationale behind them and the why, the purpose behind them? Do we sense across our team that people are truly cared for? Their idea is valued. They want to be listened to. They realize that the best teams, that there's something in it for all the other players too. It's not just what one person wants. It's what we all want. And so do we show that kind of empathy and authenticity? Do people on the team and within the team sense that the decisions and the empathy, the care is real, but also, is it real? Is it genuine? Is it transparent? Is there anything we're hiding? So logic, empathy, and authenticity are absolutely all at play within our teams. And where the red flags can go up with somebody else on the team is when someone doesn't understand the rationale, the logic, the why behind our decisions, our projects, our priorities. And red flags also go up when people on the team begin to not feel like other members on the team truly care about their needs or their point of view. That's the empathy side of things. And absolutely, red flags go up when people get the feeling that others are not being authentic. They're not being real. They're not being genuine. They're not being transparent. And that authenticity is lacking. And therefore, within our teams and the dynamics of our teams, our trust can wobble in different situations and over time. So I'm going to focus on 3 just reminders if you're thinking about it, not only from a personal standpoint, but you're looking at this from the angle of your team and group of people you work with. Here are some ways. Last episode, I talked about overcoming your wobble personally. And here are a few things I would add for overcoming or working on that wobble as a team. The first thing I'll say is why. And we know, anybody that knows me well knows I love to ask the question, why? And not as a trying to be a pain in anybody's butt, but to ask the question of, I often know I need to understand what is the mission, what is the purpose, why are we approaching something the way that we do? And oftentimes, again, when people understand the why, the purpose, the mission, the logic, they're more likely to trust. And so we, within our teams, we have an opportunity in all situations to communicate better and to make sure that we take the time to share the logic, the rationale, the why we might be approaching something the way that we are. And when people see that rationale, that logic, that why or purpose is sound and clear, the trust within our group will improve. So we got to remember the why. The second thing I'll remember for overcoming kind of that trust wobble within teams is that word care. Because we often, of course, we say we got to care, and we want people to show up with passion and show that they care about whatever we're doing. But we also want to show people we care about them. And you may remember an episode I did about the concept of organizational empathy. You can go back and again listen to that whole episode. But organizational empathy is I define it as John Acuff, a writer that I appreciate, and a guy that I've met and been friends with, is he says that organizational empathy is caring about what the people you care about care about. Caring about what the people you care about. I love that language. I think it's so cool. And the layers to that, we have to first figure out who do we care about, and then if we truly do care about them, that means we have to figure out then what do they care about? And then as the leader or as the team, are we going to get in the business of caring about what they might care about? And the best leaders, teams, they understand what their people care about and then help them feel cared for, listened to. They bring them into participation. And in that process of truly listening and showing and trying to figure out, okay, how might we approach what we do based on what the people on our team care about, that builds trust within our teams. So why? Remembering to care. And what does that mean to get in the business of caring about what they care about? And then the last one I'll just point out, if these are ways in which we can be reminded of overcoming that trust wobble as a team, is to remember that authenticity is king. Authenticity is king. People can spot a fake from a mile away. The best leaders and teams are real with each other, which means we have an opportunity within our teams is to share transparent information, but also to be willing to be vulnerable with each other. And the best leaders and teams and entire organizations, they admit where they have fallen short and how they promise to show up next. And they also are able to say in what specific ways do they need help from other people so that other people can participate. So some of the ways in which we overcome those team trust wobbles is to remember, have we communicated the why? Have we truly shown and listened to what are the cares of the team? And have we identified them? And then are we showing up authentically? Are we communicating with transparency? Are we being genuine and showing people, where we've misstepped, but also what is our commitment to do it better next time? So as always, I'll leave you with a few questions to ponder. Where does your trust tend to wobble within your team? Is it logic? Is it empathy? Is it authenticity? But where does your trust tend to wobble within your team? Again, no team is perfect. All a team is a collection of humans, so we're all going to have wobbles. But where does your trust tend to wobble as a team? How could your team practice communicating the why, the rationale, the reasoning, as well as showing care and being vulnerable with each other to show that level of authenticity? What are the opportunities for your team? So I hope today's episode got you thinking in some good ways. We're going to continue this. There's going to be another topic coming up where we talk about the trust musts. I hope you'll have your eye out for that one. It's coming in the next couple of weeks. And as always, if you have some feedback or something you think would be helpful for us to know, email info@jasonvbarger.com, info@jasonvbarger.com, and share your thoughts. Again, we'll continue to hopefully create content that meets you where you are and helps you think about your own leadership, the culture you're trying to form, and how we can continue to build trust and do this, whatever it is you're doing, to do it better in the world and create a culture that people want to be a part of. So cheers to you. Cheers to the path ahead, the future of leadership, the future of cultures, the future of building organizations and teams where trust is higher. It's on you, it's on me, it's on us, and we get to be those thermostats for other people. So step back, remember, be a thermostat, and breathe good oxygen. Thank you for listening to today's podcast, and I hope the messages and questions stimulate positive change along your path. As always, if these messages resonate with you and add value to your life, I hope you'll help amplify them throughout the world. Please rate, comment, and share on whatever podcast or social media platform you're using, and share this podcast with the people in your life or work who should be part of these conversations. That way, this spirit does, in fact, spread. If these messages or developing leaders and culture would be helpful to you and your organization, please contact us at jasonvbarger.com, jasonvbarger.com. And remember, we are all ambassadors for the culture we want to create in our life and work. We have to own the vision we want to be a part of. The future of leadership is you, is me, is us. Be a thermostat.